Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Talk with Coach, the podcast where we deep dive into the realms of sales, leadership, and personal growth. I'm your host, Becca Goldsberry, an elite sales and leadership coach representing Southwestern Consulting. I am thrilled to embark on another amazing journey with each of you. Whether you're a seasoned professional aiming to sharpen your skills or an aspiring leader hungry for knowledge, this podcast is your compass to success. So join me as we explore strategies, tactics, and mindset shifts, a lot of mindset shifts today, necessary to thrive in the competitive landscape of sales and leadership and business in general. Get ready to unlock your potential, seize opportunities, and conquer challenges like never before. Buckle up. Let's embark on this transformative voyage together. Welcome to Talk with Coach. So today, the guest that I have on is not just a colleague, but he is a friend. He is a mentor. He is somebody whose thoughts, feedback, opinions I truly appreciate. He was, and just to share a little bit about him with you all, he was accepted into the Toyota Management Training Program and served as district manager in Boston, and then began a long and successful career as a top producer with Athlon Sports Communication, where he retired as partner and VP of sales. And so here's some of the fun facts that we get to know about him today. So he created and sold the first corporate brand B2C digital game in sports, the Pepsi Fantasy Racing. Anybody remember all of that? Which achieved 4 straight years of traffic records for Pepsi, exceeding 10 million page views per season. And the craziest promotion he sold was cutting a team bus in half lengthwise at Super Bowl 33. And like I said, I get to call him a colleague because we work with Eagles at Southwestern Consulting. But more importantly, I get to call him friend and team member. What I admire about him is his dedication to his family, his unwavering faith, and you're going to hear all about that today, and his heart for serving others. Today, I'm excited for him to share with us one of his new ventures and passions. Tony Hegogans, welcome to Talk with Coach. I'm excited that you're here with us and appreciate you hopping on.
Thanks, Becca. So glad to be here. And thank you for the great introduction. Gosh, I'd forgotten about Pepsi Fantasy Racing. That was so long ago. The internet had just started. So that was actually the very first consumer to brand, in the world.
That's amazing.
It's like, we can do a game like that? I'm like, sure.
We could do anything we want at this point. At that point, you literally could. I mean, it was
so
like
10 million page views was a big deal back then because it was like year one of the internet, or it seemed like year one.
So how did you get started with all of that? Phyllis, tell people more about that because I mean, you did a lot of really cool things for sports, Pepsi. Share some more fun things because Tony, some of the things that you've done are just fun. I mean,
They are. I mean, you gotta have fun, right? Hey, I am an anomaly. I've discovered through my career. Because generally you would bring a big idea to a company like a Pepsi or a Samsung or a Geico, and they would do it for maybe that 1 year or maybe that 1 month. And then they cast you aside and go on to the next thing. So I was unusual because I was probably the only person in the space that had clients at Fortune 500 size for over 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
So it wasn't like 20 days or 20 months. Yeah. So I've always been kind of had that mindset. And that's been kind of key. I'm also an anomaly in that I've increased my personal production over the prior year 27 times in my career.
That's amazing. That's a top
My
producer.
personal production on top of my team. So yeah, no, thank you. So I don't know. I just always very servant minded, always trying it's not about me. It's about what the client most needs. If it was always about me, I would have kept that client for maybe, I would have sold it once. But right. Because it was about the client, you're always bringing solutions that can serve that client. In my case, for decades.
I love that. So I just created a video today, and what you just said remind me because I keep hearing from clients and for people I'm talking with, And there's two words they absolutely keep saying they hate. And like my mom always said, if you use the word hate, that's strong language. Like that's like almost like a no-no word, like I hate something. That was just a no-no word. But they keep saying they're like, I hate the word sales and I hate the word referrals. Like referrals, okay, I get it. We can use, who can you introduce me to, right? And, who would be some great champions or who can you connect me to? I get it. But the word sales, I'm like, okay, if you're trying to grow your business or you're trying to grow your brand, you're trying just to grow in general, you got to sell. Like, and like in the video, you know how we all come to the table with servant selling and like you said, serving others and just helping them get to a yes or no because a life of maybes is just frustrating for everybody included. And you're not really serving them well if we're not asking for the business. So I would love your thoughts on the word sales and the word referrals. And for those people who hate those two words, that's just so strong. Hate is just so strong.
I wish I'd have hired you 20 years ago because I was one of those people who was fearful of asking somebody for referrals.
Mm.
But what I was good at was actually working inside the company. I was really good at getting referred to another division of their company. I was horrible at asking somebody to connect me to one of their buddies outside that company. I was fearful.
Okay, now look at you.
Yeah.
Now that's how you're doing business. It's friends of
Yep.
friends.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So if I'd have hired you 20 years ago, I would have had even more business success.
I don't even know if you'd even be with us at that point. You might be off, on your own private island somewhere at this point.
I'd still be working with you.
Well, I'm glad you are. So share with us this new passion, this new venture, this amazing book that you have written, and just share with us the book. And the title is Life Begins at Surrender. Walk us through this journey. How'd you get started? What was the process? What made you think it's time to start?
Well, it was a calling. I was not looking to write a book. I've never written a book. I had zero time to write a book. I still don't know how to write a book. But God ordained the 68,000 word book. Just to prove to you, I don't know what I'm doing. The book launch is Saturday, and I'm speaking in front of a big group of people on my keynote surrender, and there's going to be no books.
It's what take pre-orders, right?
Oh yeah, that's what we're going to do. But the journey, though, is even going back to what I was talking about earlier. My journey was, being a top producer, and actually having a life of, I think fear, anxiety, stress, frustration, anger, like towards my spouse. That was my life. And so, and I think it culminated in 2012. It had another great year. I'm like, what does somebody like me give themselves for Christmas? My first coach out of my own pocket. I gave myself the gift of a coach. And praise the Lord, he saw to it that I had a Christian coach who helped me realize my priorities were out of order, and I had some room to work with getting to a place of peace and joy. Because at my professional life, right around that point, I'd been taken to the hospital, convinced I was dying of a brain aneurysm, only to be told by the doctors I just had severe stress. Then I developed cancer. I didn't even realize I was on this roller coaster and with addictions that didn't serve me or my family. So that coach was really helpful for me to kind of get me to a place where I really needed to start realizing. For me, it was a process of surrender, slowly crucifying my former self in order to gain a better one and a better life. And my life started to become more, my joy became more complete. And it became, the more I surrendered, the better it got. And everybody I'd ever talked to since starting this book that was put on my heart, who's gone through a similar process and transformation, it was 100% agreement that life is better when we surrender. It's almost as if life begins at surrender. So what I'm going to be doing over the next year is speaking 100 times for free at my dime. I'll travel the US, getting in front of people. Some of it's going to be virtual. I'm already setting up some virtual things with small groups, but I think I am good at moving people out of their wherever they are in their life, their comfort zone, to help them just take one step. Just take one step. So the book actually outlines the most common 10 steps that people go through on the journey to surrender. And wherever you're at, it's just take the next step, because we're all at different steps. Here's the thing, Becca, have you ever heard the term, man, Christianity would be so great if it wasn't for all the hypocrites?
Oh,
All the Christians.
I
You
was
know?
actually having a conversation with somebody about that last night, actually.
Yeah, we're all at different paths we're all along the steps. We're all headed on the same journey to the same destination. But man, right? If I'm at step 1 and you're at step 10 or something, it's going to be we're not going to be congruent.
Right.
So that's what the book's about. That's what God's putting me in my heart to speak to groups about. And really, at the back of the book, I have a 12-week journey that groups can do together.
Oh, cool.
They don't
Tell us
have
a
to
little
walk
more
at
about.
single file. They can work together for 12 weeks. It's a fun 12 weeks. And that's what I'm trying to do, is plan 100 small groups that take that on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So are you talking more with churches? Fill us in on, like,
It's
people are listening.
interesting. I'm kind of like this birthing this, but it's no, I'm speaking to one company. I'm speaking to one men's group. I'm speaking to a women's group. Then those are the types of things I already have scheduled so far. Another one's going to be like a virtual men's group. We're getting the time next week, but yeah.
Awesome.
So anybody who needs to go through a process to where you're thinking, I don't think my joy and fulfillment is maybe as great as it could be, or why did God really put me here? What's being asked of me? Because I said no to God on so many things. I felt so bad about it. It was so eating at me. I promised him I would say yes to the next thing that he asked of me. And when I said yes, man, was I tested. Because he was, I think, really trying to see if I could be trusted with that,
Right.
with that. And praise the Lord. Apparently that yes, and apparently passing those tests is why, I'm at where I'm at today and get the opportunity that he's put in front of me. It's been a great 3.5 years. It's been a 3.5 year process since I said yes to that in July of 2020.
Wow. One of the things I love is on your Facebook page, you always have basically kind of like the prayer of the day or the prayer of the week for Life Begins at Surrender. And y'all hop on there and find Tony, because those are amazing. And a lot of times they just hit right where it needed to for the day. And I'm like, okay, God, I mean, I know. So at least at least one person, God,
No, I
it's speaking.
appreciate that, but that's my heart. I'm trying work. That's why it's called prayers of surrender. It's because I am surrendering my day, whatever's, and sometimes those prayers for other people are struggling with surrender. But it's literally like asking God to crucify my ego and my pride, and just
Well,
follow where I'm being led with full effort.
yeah, I remember last year my word of the year was surrender for 2023. Man, 2023 was rough for me. Like, so many things happened. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm surrendering. I'm giving this all to you. I'm trying not to control things that I can't control. I'm trying to control my controllables and just kind of give it to him. And that word surrender, I think, is one of the most powerful words in the dictionary, because if we don't and we try to control everything, my life just goes chaos. I don't know about yours, but like if I try to control everything, that's when my life was just like cuckoos for Cocoa Puffs, like all over the place.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
So how did you, what does the process of writing a book look like? What were the steps? Did you like, because, I know some of our friends and
Yeah,
some people I
we
know,
know
they
some
would like
things.
hold themselves in a dark room, and like try to hours at a time get some of this done. What did it look like for you?
A lot of listening and a lot of praying.
Mm,
And the person I was listening to was the big man upstairs, just trying to, what do you want me to do? Again, I didn't really know how to do any of this, but I kind of felt that he really wanted me to self-publish this
okay.
and completely remove myself from it.
Mm,
So even when you see, like, when you see books have like a little bit about the author, mine just
yeah.
says an ordinary Christian with an extraordinary story. That's it. I don't talk about anything other than that. nothing about my professional background, zero, because it's the message. It's nothing to do with me. This book isn't even about making money. It's about getting the message out, which is why I'm traveling the US on my dime. And my wife is totally cool with it because, she's cool with trusting. We trust in the Lord. And, all the book sales just go to help funding that ministry and some other things that we're going to be doing around it. But you just got to trust. So I trusted.
Yeah.
It's self-published. It's not even available on Amazon. That's what I wanted to share with you. It's only at lifebeginsatssurrender.com. I was telling somebody the other day, like, well, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you doing like a big promotional campaign? I'm like, because that would all be about me. And I want to intentionally, actually, I think I'm supposed to do it wrong so that if the book succeeds, it's obvious it's God's glory, because there's no other reason it ever would. And yeah, so there you go.
I think, was it Margaret Thatcher or Winston Churchill, one of the greats over there in Great Britain? They always talked about every human, every person God put on this earth. We're just ordinary people. We just get to live out extraordinary works through Him. So, and I'm like, what if we all had the mindset of like, there's nothing unique, nothing, crazy. Like, we're all just great people, but the things that we do, it's because of Him. Like, how would society be different if that was our mindset?
I'm just the person who said yes.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Right.
I'll put Christian in front of that, but I don't even know if I was even a good Christian, right? So it's just like, I was just somebody who said yes.
Wonder what would happen. Now that I'm thinking about that, what would happen if everybody just said yes more?
Wonder if that's fighting with God.
Yeah, with God, and like, we don't need to be like,
whoa, Becca, slow down, girl.
Right, not the negative things, but like to the positive things, right? What if what if we got out of our comfort zones? Because how many times, especially for those of us who are Christians and of faith, that God's probably said, hey, you need to go in this direction, but we didn't say yes.
That was me most of my life.
Pondering thoughts, isn't it? Like, I'm trying to think about like, when are the times in my life that I probably should have said yes to way sooner? Or I did say yes. I think like the biggest moment, I think the first time I've actually realized it, when I said yes, like something major, 2 weeks before I went out to high school, at St. Paul's Lutheran High School. It's a co-ed boarding high school in Concordia, Missouri. In 8th grade, when Grandma and Grandpa asked if I wanted to go, Tony, there was no way I was going. I was like, no, I'm staying home. I'm not going to a Lutheran boarding high school 8 hours from home. There's no way. 2 weeks before volleyball camp started that summer, to the summer of 1992, I'll date myself there. 2 weeks before school started, I looked at my mom and I was like, hey, we got to go shopping. She goes, why are you going shopping? We don't need to go shopping. You don't need nothing. I was like, I got to buy bedding. I got to buy some pillows. I go, I need school supplies because I'm going out to St. Paul's. She goes, what? I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to St. Paul's. And she's like, whoa, what changed your mind? That's like, I think God told me I needed to go do this. So that was the first time I felt Him lead me with cognizant recognition that I need to go do something.
So cool.
Mm-hmm. When was the first time that you heard Him speak to you and you said yes?
Well,
what do you remember?
It's to write a book named Life Begins at Surrender. I do think I was introduced to my wife through divine intervention. When I met her, I was like, yeah, I knew she was the one.
Okay.
And yeah, that was kind of a process, but it all came together. And our kids are great, and the life we have together is really nice. And I think you've met her, and she's great, and
she's fabulous.
She's a good counterbalance to me.
Mm-hmm. as most good spouses are. How
There
did,
you go.
is that a story you can share? How did you guys, is that a story you can share? How did you guys meet?
Well, we were both actually, it was in Dewey Beach, Delaware, and we were both having weekends with friends that lived in Washington, D.C. And most of the Washington, D.C. crowd, when you're young and single, go to Dewey Beach on the weekend. And I just saw her walk into the Rusty Rudder with probably 12 other women. And, you've met Melissa. She's really small and she's in the middle. And I'm like, but I knew. And I'm like, I just got to bust through the 12 to get to, and it
So
worked
how
out.
did
It
you
worked
guys?
out. They let me into, yeah, they were on a girls' weekend. They were not, no guys allowed, but somehow I, thank, thank the Lord, they allowed me to be introduced to Melissa and, and start our romance.
I love that. So, what are some of the fun things that you guys as a family, the kids are growing up, right?
Mhm.
Like, so what are some of the fun things that you guys as a family love, to do when you guys get to go relax?
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? So there's four personalities.
Hmm.
So it's kind of, so sometimes
Oh,
I'll do an intentional trip just with my wife, intentional trips with my son, and I'll do intentional trips with my daughter. And that way everybody's getting to do kind of what they want, and nobody necessarily has to sacrifice kind of what they want to do. Um, my son and I have been, we enjoy just going and deepening our faith. So like last summer, we went to Rome for a week and to Israel for a week. And I actually met a client over there in Israel. It was his idea to do this trip. And I'm like, I'm in. And once I mentioned to my son, he's like, I'm in too. Um, over Christmas, we went to the Creation Museum there in Kentucky. And the year before that, we'd gone to the Bible Museum. I'm going to Fatima when I'm in Port. Actually, I'll be in Fatima like a week from Sunday in
yeah,
Portugal. I've been inside the cave at the island of Patmos where John wrote the Book of Revelation. Um,
that's cool.
yep, and so that's been part of my 3.5 year journey. So that's what we tend to do. My daughter's still looking at colleges and looks like she's going to be that choice has been made. But we've had a great West Coast trip together. I'm like, you need to go to school. Just get out early. That's like for spring
Right?
break last year, and we went to the West Coast. Had a great time in California and Arizona, and just had a lot of that. That was a great trip. And she's been on trips, even the trips I've earned with Southwestern. Like she's been to Greece with me, and it's been great. It's been great.
Somebody, a client asked me once, they're like, when Thad goes to college, are you going to kind of like push him in the direction of a really cool city so you could like do some work in a cool city? I was like, that thought has not, that it has passed, it's crossed my mind, but I'm like, no, he's got to follow his own path.
Follow his
So,
own path. Andrew's in Waco, Texas, so that's not like
hey, for a lot of people, Waco's a cool place because you got
Yeah,
Chip and Joanna's place down there in Waco,
that's right. That's
For some
right.
people that's a great
But
place.
he was called there and he followed that calling. There's really no other reason you would probably go to Waco other than to visit Magnolia, other than to study and serve the Lord. And it's been great. And it's been great how God's working in his life. And actually it's been kind of great as a dad to watch how God's actually closing a lot of doors to him,
Mm,
which is keeping him, is really making straight his path. And so
that's all.
now I think actually he's going for 3 or 4 weeks to Thailand this summer to evangelize. And he's
Oh,
raising money on his own to fund
that's
himself to
amazing.
evangelize. Yeah, I'll introduce him to Amy Brock. But yeah, it's amazing.
I was going to say because I know Peter, his family's still over in the Philippines too.
Yep, I think
So
Andrew's going to be in Thailand. I think that's what he told me.
that would
Yeah,
be
so he's just following the calling. That's great, and that door is wide open. I can't wait to see how much money he fundraises, what God makes available for him there. But
exactly.
yeah,
Well, I was going to say when you guys were in Israel, with everything that's going on in Israel, what were some of the biggest highlights that you got from your trip on Israel? Like, what were some, not necessarily going to certain places,
no, I'm
but
with
like,
you.
what were some of like that,
Yeah, but to be honest with you, every moment is a
mm,
highlight when you're there. Every moment. Um, every day had its own highlights. Wherever we went was a highlight. Whatever it's incredible. All I can tell people is if you want to have the trip of your life, stop telling yourself I'll go there someday and just
mm,
do it. It took me until age 50 57, 58. I think I was age 57 when I agreed. Yeah, I was age 57. 57 years of my life I waited to have
Mm,
the best year of the best 2 weeks of my life. And shame on me. Why was I waiting? And luckily, Jim Hughes, a great client, a great friend, um, got me out of my comfort zone.
yeah, I love that. And, necessarily, I don't think they're letting many people head over there now.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I'd still go tomorrow.
I
I'd
was going to
still
say,
go.
it's like I told you, I think once too, that is when Thad gets older enough for him to appreciate, that's on the list. Because my dad went, I think he was 14 when my dad and my grandma and grandpa took the family out. And my dad said that was probably one of his best trips of his entire life was
Yeah,
being
it's
in
hard to
Israel.
describe to people, but you're touching and standing and seeing all the places where Jesus lay and was crucified, died, resurrected. You get to visit the empty tomb in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. You can walk the entire Mount of Olives. And I didn't even know what to expect. This is what my son wanted to do that day. So we left. We were kind of like they had done like a little tour. Him and Jim had set up, and
Yeah.
but he's like, hey, I don't want to do the tour today. I just want to go walk the Mount of Olives. I'm like, sure. And man, that was probably the highlight of the trip. But every day was a highlight.
Right.
Every day was a highlight.
From that trip, are there certain aspects that you took as you kept writing the book and that trip inspired a piece of that book by what were some of the things
So
that
that
made
trip brought a lot of tears to my eyes, and just the thankfulness of going through the process of surrender, and just how beautiful and wonderful that journey's been for me. So when I was the Vatican allowed me and my son and probably 10 other English speakers with only there's 70,000 people that visit Rome like per day. And I was one of 12 that got a chance to go below the grottos at St. Peter's Basilica and actually see the box holding the bones of Peter. And I'm just
mm,
standing there and tears are coming down my eyes. And the reason was because I was just so thankful of what the journey God has allowed me to be on and what I've been able to see and do. It was just a lot of emotions hit me. But so the whole 2 weeks was like that. And, just part of the journey, I'm just so thankful.
well, speaking of journey, I know your favorite quote is Romans 8:28.
Sure.
God works all things for good for those who love him and are working according to his purpose.
His purpose.
His purpose, not our purpose, right? His
What?
purpose. Right. And when Bob had us do that, exercise at Global Summit about creating like our mission, vision, purpose statements. And as I was just tweaking a few words here and there on the one I've already had for a couple years, the one thing I prayed was, okay, God, what is your purpose through me, right? Because we can't do it alone. And I think that's one of the most important things I love about Southwestern Consulting, about all of our colleagues, is that, so many of us have our own journeys that have all led us together to serve his purpose, which I think is just awesome.
Yep.
So share with us how this amazing book that is coming out, where you can only get it on the website, you guys, not Amazon ready.
Or
It's
invite me to speak to your group. I will come and speak in person, unless you want me to do virtual, but I will come to your group and I will light a fire.
Is there a group minimum for this? Like, do you need a minimum of people to attend?
There's
For
one
you.
lost sheep. We'll go get that one lost sheep, Becca.
I love it. Okay. Are you coming up? Are you going to go to Steve's church? Have you put Steve on the
Oh
spot?
yeah. So I haven't booked that one yet, but yeah, I will be investing time around the Indianapolis area. I've got
Okay.
other people there too, so there's a lot. Yeah. I
Good.
might just actually come for a week or two. Actually, you might be putting me up for a night or two, but
Okay.
you too. But
We
yeah,
can totally
but
do that.
I'm in planning on investing a little bit of time around Indianapolis for sure.
Awesome. I was going to say, while you're on incentive trip, start talking with colleagues like, okay, who do I need to talk with at the church or in your ministries? So I think there would be so many people, so many clients. Are your clients that you've been talking to about this, what's their feedback? Are they super excited about this as well?
So one of them has invited me to speak to the entire company. And I'm like, wow, he's like, they need to hear this message. They need to know what Coach Tony's about. I'm like, all right, bring it on. And that's happening next month. I think it's on the 24th. It's on a Monday, like in May.
I love that.
Yeah.
That
We'll
will
kick
be,
off the day with it. It's like at 7:30 in the morning or something.
that's a big day. That's a big fun day.
It'll be a
But
great day. It'll be a great day. I don't even know how many people are going to be there yet, but it's going to be a packed room.
it's going to be awesome. And knowing how God's going to use you for his glory and helping people to surrender. Because let's face it, we're all human. There's all things that we all need to be able to give up control that don't serve us well.
Amen.
So I'm just excited that you are on this journey and that you're sharing this because to me, I'm excited about this keynote so we can, book you and just get the word out and helping others to be able to surrender and grow in God's grace and for his purpose.
And it brings so many gifts. I mean, it's innumerable. I mean, why you wouldn't? You have nothing to lose to take one step forward, to let go a little bit. There is nothing to lose. One of the ways I was led to was to listen to people's testimonies. I had never asked anybody to share their Christian testimony with me 2.5 years ago. The whole thought of that really made me uncomfortable. And I thought, I would interview people for the book, right? That'd be interesting, right?
Mm-hmm. I would be.
No, it wasn't. So then I said, listen to their testimony. Man, and listening to someone's testimony has become a powerful part of my story, my journey of this book. Well, one of our dear colleagues, Al Williams, God bless his soul. I asked him to share his Christian testimony with me 4 weeks ago, and that man today is in heaven. And so it was just God just put on me to capture his test, which was great. I was able to send it to his wife Felicia, and speak at his wedding in Chicago, this past weekend. And it was it's just amazing the journey God will put you on if you listen and you pray and you just say yes. Don't say why, don't say how, just say yes and do.
I was going to say, I know that's one of your hobbies is listening to people's testimony.
Mm-hmm.
What's one of the coolest, and you don't have to share names or anything, but what's one of the coolest things that you've heard from somebody's testimony that really just has touched you in your life?
Well, all of them. It's obvious that God still works miracles today, and whoa, it's amazing the number of miracles that Jesus is performing daily. And unfortunately, we don't see it. I think you really need to be in the spirit in order to understand things of the spirit. And so that's the unfortunate thing, but that's what's been very apparent to me. Plus, whenever I needed, I remember I was in the forgiveness step, and I remember praying on a Monday, just God, leave it to somebody who can give you that gripping testimony on forgiveness. And he led me to Chris Jones, and on a Friday evening, and within a week we're FaceTiming, and I just heard the most remarkable, incredible testimony on forgiveness. I heard the most remarkable, the very last testimony I listened, the book was done, but I felt God saying, you need to listen to his testimony. So I got connected to this guy who had showed up on one of our a virtual prayer group. Man, that was such a gift, Becca.
Really?
So as part of this journey, God had saved the best for last. And it's actually, I made the last first. It's the first testimony in the book now. It's the testimony I'm actually going to read and share with people at all 100 times I speak in front of a group. It's that moving. Actually, my whole presentation was given to me. A 45-minute presentation was given to me when I was transcribing his testimony that evening, an early Saturday evening after hearing it late Saturday afternoon. And that's why I'm not nervous about it. I'm really excited about what's going to happen tomorrow. And praise the Lord, because you know what? I knew someday this was going to happen. So I've been working for a couple of years, like on a keynote. It was so bad. It was so horrible. It was so bad.
Oh my gosh.
It was bad. And my wife's like, "You're not going to say that, are you?" Like, I don't know, but it's great. What I'm going to be delivering is this, and I've practiced with some people that and got some feedback,
Yeah.
like from Leslie Hughes, who I really respect her. Man, she just
Mhm.
looked at me stunned and had tears coming out of her eyes. And there's some things in the keynote I was kind of wondering about, like, God said, just do
Yeah.
this. And I asked her, like, what about this? And she's like, no, that was really, really super needed, and gave me the reasons why. I'm like, wow, I never would have thought about that in a million years. And it's just amazing. It's amazing. Just say yes.
Just say yes. I know you're in your book, you mentioned there's 10 steps. What do you think is the hardest step?
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Mm.
And I called my person to thank him yesterday, who was the one I really had to forgive in my heart. And I called him yesterday, just thanking him for the gift he'd given me. He was like, well, "What gift is that?" Because then I caused you a bunch of angst. And I was like, "That's why I need to. That's why I'm so thankful. I had to get over that, and it's all been downhill since."
Wow.
I don't remember what year that was. 10, 11, 12 years. Probably that same time I was going, when I'd hired the coach,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things going on that kind of got me kind of kick-started on the whole process.
I think we all have times in our life where there's people that we haven't forgiven, or it's too hard to forgive, or maybe we said we forgave them, but really we're still holding grudges because
Woo.
it's hard to let go. And to me, it eats at my soul. Like it just eats at like your heart and your soul. So I would agree. Forgiveness, I think, is key.
It's
Again,
the
it's going back
hardest
to
one.
surrender.
I used to call that, like, that was the hardest one to get over. But I have forgiveness right before surrender, because until you actually can get to that point,
Mm,
which most of us never do, and luckily I was able to get there by the grace of God. But and he felt it, so he already knew I'd forgiven him, which was interesting, just from the way I interact with him since because you're right, you go through this heart transformation, a heart change,
yeah.
and they sense it.
Mm. So good, friend. So good. So many good nuggets that I love. So the one question I always end up asking and end every podcast, and I appreciate you just coming on and just sharing with everybody about your journey of surrender and just serving people and the heart that you have to serve so many for God's glory. I just think is awesome. So thank you for sharing all of this stuff. And again, Tony, tell everybody the website so they can go get the book.
So it's the name of the book.com. So it's Life Begins at Surrender.com. You can get a hard copy, you can get an ebook, you can even order it internationally. Those are the three things right now. And there'll be an Audible here at some point.
Fantastic. And if you want Tony to come to your
Go to the site. Yeah,
church
you can pick a
for
time.
free.
You'll talk to me, and we'll figure it out. We'll arrange it, and I
Awesome.
will do that. Don't be afraid to reach out. Just put your email address on the site. You'll see how easy it is, and I will come speak to your group. Life begins at surrender.com.
I love it. Okay. So, Tony, what is the funniest story you can share with us about you growing up?
Thanks.
I know everybody gets to share, everybody gets to share.
Hey, so I have my spiritual gifts are humor and wisdom, and so I've had a lot of funny times in my life. Basically, I'm smiling all the time, and people are like, "Man, you
Me
got,"
too.
but it's because I find humor in everything, and so. But sharing a funny story is not one of my gifts. So
I was going to say, can you share with us? I think you told me once about your mom didn't want you to sell books for Southwestern. Was that right?
So that was a huge impact moment for me, actually, which is funny now that I'm with Southwestern Consulting as a coach. And I've worked with kind of Southwestern affiliated company, some way, shape, or form for over 30 years. And yeah, so Southwestern has a division where you sell books door to door. It's called like Southwestern Advantage, which is, sounds like my daughter's going to actually be doing it next summer after her freshman year. Yeah, which is pretty exciting. She's already recruiting her friends, but parents think that's a horrible idea, right? Oh, I'm going to go sell door to door, different part of the country. It's going to be great. I'm going to make a bunch of money. The parents are like, no, where are you going to live? I don't know. Yeah. What are you selling? I don't really know for certain, and it's just a whole lot of unknowns. And so my parents were really giving me a hard time about it. I went and did it anyways. But after a week or two, I was really having a hard time. And I remember calling home from a payphone, because that's all you had back then. You didn't have cell phones. Calling from a payphone. And I'm like, oh, yeah, my mom will be home. And she'll like, oh, yeah, you should come home. So I called her whimpering. And the greatest gift, other than birthing me, that she's ever given me was she told me to stay out there. And she was not going to let me come home, and that no job is easy. Their jobs weren't easy. She was like, we enjoy going to work every day. I'm thinking to myself, well, of course. I never realized that my parents going through emotional baggage too with going to work every day or whatever. I never dawned on me. I'm 18, 19 years old. And I stayed out there that whole summer, hit Century Club, had a great summer, and I sold for another 4 summers after that. So that's what I really thank my mom for, more than anything. Because I thought for certain she was going to let me come home. I thought for certain.
Nope. Stay out there. Keep doing your thing, Tony. That's a good parent, helping kids develop grit and commitment and follow through right there.
Bingo.
Yep.
Tough love.
Tough love, baby. Tough love. I love it.
That's defined my life.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, that's a pivotal moment right there.
Otherwise, you know what she would have taught me, Becca? When it gets tough, quit.
Yeah. And how often do parents allow kids to learn that lesson without realizing that's what they taught their kids?
And how often does it get tough?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm thankful for your mom, and that
Me too.
made you tough, Tony. I love it.
Me too.
Well, thank you for hopping on, friend. I appreciate you. So everybody, this wraps up another empowering, amazing episode with Talk with Coach. I hope you found today's insights valuable and actionable. Remember, growth is a journey, and every step forward counts. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on my YouTube channel and Spotify. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, comments, topics, or suggestions by reaching out to us on social media and through our website. Until next time, keep striving for greatness, keep pushing your limits, and remember, your success story is yet to be written. Until next time, take care and make it a blessed day.